I have a small group of close friends, all males around the age of 25, that I hang out with almost every day. We've all known each other almost all our lives and recently, at least 1.5 years, got a new addition to our group, John. I never really liked John. He was rude, obnoxious, and would always talk like he knows everything. He was also incredibly pretentious. A friend of mine said Einstein once, and John interrupted him to say, "I have no idea who you are talking about. Do you mean the renowned scientist Albert Einstein?" I once put up a Snapchat story saying, "I love college football," and he replied to my story with, "It's called gridiron, you moron." I don't understand how, but my friends readily accepted him into our friend circle. On one night about 5 or 6 months ago, we had a little get together and were just drinking and having fun. John was kind of tipsy. We had some new girls show up, so I was kinda working my charm on them. They asked me what I did and I went, "I'm a biomed engineer." I don't know why that triggered John so much, but he went on this hour-long tirade about how I'm just a drone in a rat race. He kept telling me about how I'm just like every other person and lacked creativity. He later passed out, but his little tirade became a running joke in our group. Every time I mentioned work or anything, John would start roasting me. He nicknamed me Drone and kept calling me that, even though I expressed multiple times that I don't like to be called a drone. He would keep telling me about how easy engineering is, he watched some intro to engineering courses online, and that any monkey with a brain can do what I do. That really pissed me off. Once I told him to shut the hell up, but he was like, "What are you going to do, fight me? I dare you to swing." I didn't want to fight him, so now I started getting referred to as a whiny. Over the last few months or so I kind of went front page a couple of times on here and everyone was like, "Damn my name, you're famous now," as a joke. That triggered him even more. He'd say stuff like his posts screw. They're not even funny. It is now just filled with stupid Facebookers who upvote stupid clickbait crap and downvote meaningful talent. At this point, it is relevant to bring up what John does. He's a photographer who works as a barista at Starbucks. How good is he? Honestly, he started off as an annoying kid with a digital camera, no talent, and a Facebook page where he uploaded 3 out of 10 pictures. Over the years he got slightly better, but it's still terrible. I'd say he's more of a 5 out of 10 now. 2 weeks ago, he got rejected from his dream job and made an Instagram post about how National Geography discriminated him because of his skin color, brown. Last week, we had a surprise birthday party at his place with his family. He lives with his parents and friends. At the party, I apologized to him, I hadn't met him since the post, and said, "I'm sorry you didn't get Nat Geo." To which he got angry again and said, "I'd rather eat my own crap than be a drone like you. What I'm doing is making real art and it's something your robot brain won't ever understand now or in the future, so I actually feel sorry for you." He said stuff like this in front of a girl I was with who got so enraged that she left and told me to tell them that she's sick or something. That's it. I freaking lost it. We were handing out mix to talk about our favorite memory with John, and I took that opportunity to say, "Well John, your pictures freaking screw, no wonder Nat Geo rejected you. You're a 27-year-old barista with no college degree, mooching off your parents, and taking worse pictures than any jerk with an iPhone camera. You're not going to amount to anything in life, so just I get cut off here." His dad grabbed the mic and shoved me. John came charging at me, but everyone just held him back. The rest of the guys were like, "Get him out of here," and I got kicked out. No one has talked to me since the incident, and John blocked me from all social media. Our group chat has been pretty silent too. John also apparently made a roast post about me. I don't know if I should apologize to him or not. Sorry for the long post. I know John is an idiot, but am I the idiot? Both are idiots. Yes, he has been an idiot to you. You chose to respond by being an idiot too. It sounds like earlier, when he was an idiot, you were able to joke about it and you didn't take it seriously. This time he struck a nerve. The girl you were with did the mature thing and left a social situation where someone was being respectful. That is the right move next time someone strikes a nerve. Walk away. If you can't physically get away that second, then stop talking and say to yourself, "I am ending this two-way street." You both screw. You screw for humiliating him at his own party. A surprise party at that. I don't know, that would cut pretty deep for me. And you didn't just screw with John, you freaked with everyone. Like, how does a party go on after that? What do you do or say? I wouldn't know. I'd probably just go home. You screwed everybody's evening, all the guests, not just John. Your words don't sound unwarranted, but you did a really gross thing, but roasting him at this party, on the mic, in front of everyone. Sounds like you were both idiots. Him for being a whiny idiot, you for publicly dragging him in front of all his friends and family. The guy flat out doesn't sound like a good friend. He sounds like a jealous douchebag loser screaming about sour grapes. But even if the guy's an idiot, you had the opportunity to be the bigger man in that scenario. By doing what you did, you gave everyone a common enemy to rally against, which makes John feel like he's right and you're just an idiot. And everyone will agree with him. What's done is done, and I wouldn't apologize. Okay, so to jump right into it, last weekend my mother had book club with her friends. One of them is a single mother with 2 kids who I usually babysit. I was very clear in advance to my mother and to her that I couldn't babysit this time because I was working over the weekend. Despite this, the day rolls around and the mother brings her kids upstairs for me to watch. I tell her again I couldn't as I am working on a commission. Mixing 12 custom pastel gouache paints for a difficult and impatient client wanting a custom painting for their baby shower. She abides, only as the afternoon goes on the kids come into my space more and more often. I shoo them down and confront the mom downstairs, she's drunk and callous to me. While I was distracted, her kids disappear and I go upstairs to a disaster zone. The kids ran back upstairs and managed to fling my custom mixed paints everywhere, finger painting my walls and on several sheets of thick expensive paper I was planning to use for the job. It was days of work and corresponding with the client gone down the drain in minutes. I scream in horror and the kids freeze. I grab them and storm downstairs to find their mother alone in the kitchen filling her wine glass. She looks shocked, but has the gall to chastise me for letting her kids get covered in paint. Here is where I may be the idiot as I rip into her, nuclear style, getting more incensed with every stupid excuse rolling out of her drunk mouth. She tries to quiet me and takes the kids with an insincere apology. I could just make more paint, right? As she goes past me and outside with the kids I can hear the other guests gasp. She immediately blames me, and wow, I almost blacked out, I was so furious. I stormed outside and, in front of everyone, I explode. About how she is a selfish drunk who might just have cost me a client, how she has no regard for others or even her children. I was so mad no one could get a word in edgewise, and I scream at her for almost 3 minutes straight, with increasingly less kind words before I spin on my heel and storm off to clean up the mess awaiting me, leaving them all gaping like goldfish. Afterwards, she played the pity me card, and some of the other guests who took her side blamed me for ruining their day and for screaming in front of the kids. Even my mother sided with her and said she was incredibly embarrassed by me. I agree there was definitely a better way of handling what happened, but I refuse to back down, especially after the being screamed at by my client, who has now gone elsewhere with their commission. But tell me, am I the idiot? So in the minute tops that it took you to tell the mother to keep the kids out of your room, they raced upstairs and an 8 and 10-year-old managed to utterly destroy your paints, paper, and cover themselves. Seriously? Finger painting the walls at 8 and 10. And you screamed at an adult for at least 3 minutes and openly insulted her, but somehow the kids couldn't hear you and no one, not even your mom, told you to knock it off and grow up. She just stood there for 3 minutes while a child hurled insults at her and didn't care. Not the idiot. I know what it's like to put a lot of effort into something for it to be ruined. That is your job, and due to her not watching her own children, well, she decides to indulge in drinking, forgetting her priorities as a mother, you could lose your client, income and potentially get a mark against your reputation. So no, I don't even think you are an idiot for shouting, because entitled people like her always try to make it out they've done no wrong. I'd ask her to pay for your destroyed work. Not the idiot, and I'm assuming the kids are old enough to know better, but don't have the control because their mother and other parent, if still in the picture, didn't instill valuing and respecting other people's work and personal space. They were also probably acting out because they don't get enough attention, and the one person, OP, who usually does give them attention wasn't doing so. An awful situation that you proactively warned against and were blatantly ignored. Hope you get the woman to compensate you like others have mentioned. At the beginning of stay-at-home orders, I went to stay with my dad. He lives in a small retirement community, and his home consists of a small kitchen, living room, a bedroom, and a bathroom. There's nowhere for me to work privately, so I normally just wear headphones and work in the kitchen. It's never been a problem. My dad has a nurse who comes Monday to Thursday to take care of him as he has Alzheimer's. I want to preface this with, I love the usual nurse who helps my dad. She's great. She had this week off, so there was another nurse who came in for her. Her substitute on this day was not great, and I'm upset with the company sending this woman out to help my dad when she couldn't handle working with him. Part of her job was to keep him in the living room and basically entertain him while I work, using puzzles, games, etc. to help with his memory. Our usual nurse is great at this, she tells him stories and is great with being patient with him. At first, this nurse seemed annoyed with him forgetting things like who I was and she was, but then started playing cards with him and he seemed to relax. Last Tuesday, I'm in my Zoom meeting, my camera is facing the entrance to the kitchen. I'm explaining my part in the team project and then my dad walks into the frame, opens the refrigerator, grabs a snack, waves at me, and walks out. All in his underwear. And I didn't realize it because I had headphones on and my back was to him. It wasn't until I watched a recording back and saw this. While in the meeting, my coworker messaged me to say my dad was there. I was horrified as to how this happened and why the nurse wasn't helping him. I exited the call and walked into the living room where she was arguing with him to put his clothes back on. I told her to leave the room and calmed my dad down to the point where he'd get dressed. Arguing with an Alzheimer's patient gets you nowhere, it stresses them out. I walked into the kitchen and asked what happened. She said he forgot who she was, said he wanted to shower, and started exposing himself. I asked if she had worked with an Alzheimer's patient before and she shrugged and wouldn't give a straight answer. I explained that she couldn't yell at him or argue, it just frustrates him. It's unproductive. She told me not to tell her how to do her job and that she was aware of his situation when she agreed to work. I told her to leave at that point. She was upset because there was still 2 hours of her shift left, but she left. I was very angry and called the company. I requested she doesn't work again with us and they asked why and I told them what happened. This week, our usual nurse comes in. I told her what happened and she said not to worry about it, the nurse was fired because of her behavior. I didn't ask, but I'm certain that it's because I called her company. And I feel like an idiot because times are tough and now she's out of a job and it's my fault. Am I the idiot? Former disability support staff here. You're totally not the idiot for wanting a nurse who is qualified to work with your dad's specific needs. It's not your fault she was unqualified and got fired. This is probably going to be an unpopular opinion, but that's your dad's kitchen, he can use his fridge when he wants to. No nurse is there to entertain your dad and keep him out of your Zoom calls. They aren't babysitters. They're medical support. What do you want the nurse to do? Deny him access to his own food in his home? Not the idiot. This is the most basic of training for dealing with patients with dementia, and even if her training was non-existent, there should be some compassion and patience rather than defensiveness when a tactic clearly isn't working. Happily, the nurses for my dad went above and beyond on this, and they were open to feedback on what works and doesn't for him. My mom and I both attended caregiver trainings that went over these exact challenges. It sounds like you're doing your best, and your concern was legitimate. Not the idiot, your dad has you there with him, and you got to see how he was cared for. If you weren't there it could have ended badly, she couldn't fulfill the role properly, and was poorly suited for his needs. Some vulnerable people don't have family there to see to their best interests, and they aren't capable of seeing it themselves. She lost her job because she couldn't do it properly, not because you complained. Your dad deserves to be cared for properly, and his regular nurse manages it perfectly. Almost every Friday, my coworkers and I will go out and get drinks and socialize. More often than not it's on open invitation for the entire office, and even people outside of our team will join. We typically have a great time, but only when Logan, 20, doesn't show. Logan means well, but is easily excitable and engages people in conversations they're not interested in. The worst of this behavior has to do with spoiling movies, shows, games, etc. A few weeks ago, I mentioned that I had tickets to see the new Mortal Kombat movie over the weekend. Logan lit up and immediately responded, "You love the scene where, spoiler, happens, and when, spoiler, shows up." I was bummed and walked away without continuing the conversation. Later that same night, Amy, another coworker, was discussing a TV show she was a few episodes behind in. Logan blurts out, I can't believe that beloved character dies in episode, whatever number. Amy, who had obviously not yet watched it, went silent and turned away. Logan laughed and said, I just can't help it. I get too excited. None of us were amused. A few days later, in our team-only group chat, someone brought up Logan's tendency to spoil things and admitted that they wished he weren't invited to outings because of it. Multiple people agreed and began to list everything Logan had spoiled for them. With this in mind, I didn't add Logan to the email invite for the next week's hangout. He noticed he never got an invitation and began to ask around. As I was the one who'd written the email, he was eventually directed to me. He pulled me aside as I left for lunch and let me know I excluded him by mistake. Rather than try and play it off, I just told him the truth that the fact he spoils everything is obnoxious and rude. I told him that joining conversations just to spoil things is bad enough, but he also starts conversations with spoilers. Logan was immediately defensive, claiming it's not his fault we're slow to watch or player etc. and that he's just making conversation. I told that, if he swore he'd be more conscious about this habit, that he could join us that Friday. He came and, lo and behold, spoiled the plot of a movie I wanted to see in theaters. Out of frustration, I called him an idiot and told him that this is exactly why no one socializes with him. He left soon after, and, even though I said what everyone was thinking, I felt like an idiot. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Logan is intentionally spoiling stuff because he knows he can and ruining people's enjoyment. He even decided to do so when no one brought it up. By you taking him off the list, you're no longer giving him power to ruin the fun. If people haven't noticed, he literally Google searched a book to ruin it for someone who didn't ask. He also doubled down when he was told the truth and tried to turn it around. He can help his behavior but doesn't want to. Also, I would be ticked if someone ruined Mortal Kombat or Demon Slayer. Mugen Train. I'm just glad that I got to see both beforehand. Not the idiot. He has had so much fairly polite feedback at this point that it's obvious he has fun upsetting people. I guarantee that if people stopped reacting, he would up the ante and start saying more extreme things to upset people. He likes it when he makes people unhappy or upset. Either he is very, very immature or a narcissist. Soft pushback has not worked. Consequences might, but at this point it really doesn't matter. As they say, payback is an idiot. He has earned shunning from the friend group. Not the idiot. He gets his kicks from it and it's obvious. It seems like he had an active life outside the circle and is doing just fine since he has all the new movie spoilers, shows, etc. He will do just fine not being invited to any gatherings. What he did to the person reading the book. That was just a straight up idiot move in my opinion. I bet you anything if anyone did the same to him, you wouldn't hear the end of it.